Joining me now to chew on all this, we got Steve Moore, host of More Money on WABC Radio and other things, and E.J. Antoni, Unleash Prosperity Senior Fellow. Gentlemen, welcome. So let's start with you, Steve Moore. The deep recession hasn't come. The hyperinflation hasn't come. The stock market is rallying. The media won't admit it. They're doubling down on pessimism. But I'd say the Trump economy right now looks pretty good. What say you?
Yeah, it's humming along, no doubt about it. And I very rarely admit that I'm wrong, but I was wrong on this, too. I didn't think we would see a number this strong so quickly. I mean, I agreed with everything in your riff. I think you left out one thing, Larry, which is what the markets and the economy love trade peace. And so Trump getting these series of trade deals, not yet in hand, but being planned, I think really calmed the markets a lot. I think they've given a lot of confidence to manufacturers, construction companies, and others. So you saw a big boost in that. And these numbers are really remarkable. I'm 4.6% growth. Now, that's over 2 months, so it's a fairly short period. But I don't think, I may be wrong about this, EJ may know, I don't think that Joe Biden had 4.6% growth in his whole 4 years in office in a single quarter. So these are giant numbers, and there is a new optimism out there, and you just see it in the business spending and investment that I think are two of the most important statistics of all.
Yeah, see, EJ, I think it's interesting. First of all, I welcome Mr. Trump's strong defense of the bill, because the bill, look, I know the bill has flaws, but those flaws will be dealt with. And I'm especially interested in the tax cut side. And I love what John Thune had to say about making the business investment tax cuts permanent. And that's going to mean the depreciation, right? That's going to include the factory depreciation. I hope that includes a 15% corporate tax rate as well. But what I'd like to say to you, EJ, since the beginning of the year, basically, there has been a business boom. Even in the first quarter, which was flat, there was a business boom. I think business investment was up about 20%. On the industrial production side, business investment, business equipment is up about 20%. There's a boom going on, EJ. I think that boom has a lot to do with, guess what? Tax cuts, incentives to invest. You know what I mean? Come here to America. We're going to give you the lowest tax rates. You won't have to pay any tariffs. What do you think, EJ?
Larry, I think that's exactly right, especially with all the talk of these tax cuts being retroactive to the start of the year. Look, the market is anticipating that Congress and the president are going to get this across the finish line. And it's remarkably similar to what we saw in 2017. And both of you were, I think, instrumental in getting that across the finish line when we had the first Trump tax cut. And what happened that year? Every time it looked like there was progress towards the end of the year, markets rallied. And then by December, when it looked like it wasn't going to happen anymore, markets swooned. And of course, then once it was actually signed right before the Christmas recess, what happened? Markets took off again. So clearly they're anticipating that we're going to get a good tax package here and that we are going to get exactly what you're both talking about, Larry, with the business expensing. That's a really, really big part of this.
Huge. Just absolutely. By the way, give credit to Gary Cohn, who was my predecessor at NEC. Give credit to Mnuchin at the Treasury Department. Give credit to Paul Ryan and Pat Toomey in the Congress, the House and the Senate. It was a massive undertaking. I always like to, they were part of my panels at the Reagan Library this past week, and they did a great job, and it was a pleasure to see all of them. EJ, I just got to stick with you. You have EJ writes that Elon built the Doge rocket and it's going to keep flying even with him out of the administration. Now, I happen to agree with you. That is the keep flying part, OK? Those Doge cuts will be rescinded. But Elon Musk has gone crazy today, telling how, what does he say? It's an abomination. The bill's disgusting. I don't understand that, EJ. What's up with that? I mean, for heaven's sakes.
Well, I think he's just incredibly frustrated, Larry. This is not a man who has ever worked in government before, who has ever actually had to watch the sausage be made, as Otto von Bismarck said. This is a man who always worked in the private sector, and he knows how to do things efficiently, hyper efficiently. And I think it's just been his experience with government has really disheartened him, looking around and saying to himself, oh, my gosh, this is really how we run things. It's no wonder that the government is broke. And look, again, I understand his frustration that he and his team put in so much hard work to literally find hundreds of billions of dollars in abuse, in corruption, in fraud, and waste in only a few months, and to see lawmakers not act on it.
But they will.
Again, I understand that kind of frustration.
Reconciliation is not the vehicle for it. They have to have separate rescission packages. And I guarantee that's coming. Or I was worried, Steve Moore, that you talked to Elon for 20 minutes and then he went out with this horrible thing. Tell me that's not true. Please deny it.
I did not. Look, I think Elon Musk is a bit of a hero for what he did in his 3 or 4 months in Washington. I think EJ has the story right. I think he feels like he was banging his head against the wall and nobody was really listening. I hope that you're right, Larry, that these things get codified into law, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. Incidentally, you may have seen on 60 Minutes this week that the chief auditor at the General Accounting Office said that she thinks that the fraud amount is not $500 billion a year. It could be as much as $1 trillion a year. $1 trillion a year out of our $7 trillion budget is being stolen by fraudsters. That tells you how sick our budget process is. And I just hope that Elon Musk, the recommendations that he's made are put into law.
Well, he
One
knows
other quick
that.
point. Don't forget, Larry,
He knows.
don't forget about the cut in the small business tax that we also have in that bill, which is huge for 30 million men and women who run small businesses.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's important. I just want to come back, though. Look, when I interviewed Elon, he talked about the GAO. And that down through the years, the GAO has evaluated, analyzed, the number, as I recall, is about $550 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yep.
Now, this woman, this gal put it up, it could be as high as $1 trillion. She's probably right.
Yes.
But Elon knows that, and I, would hope that Elon understands the process here. Reconciliation is not the place. I mean, I would have preferred to get as many of this waste, fraud, and abuse in, but reconciliation is not the place. They have to have separate rescission votes, which they'll get. It only takes a majority in the Senate. Last one, in the Unleash Prosperity hotline today. I love this. EJ, I'll give it to you. The Democrats have lost the middle class. It's really quite remarkable. They had about a 25-point lead in middle-class Americans. I don't know if we have the chart, if we can put it up on the full screen, in the late 80s. And then gradually it's whittled away. And at the latest polling, it was back to zero. The Republicans are tied with the Democrats for middle-class votes. EJ, why is that? How do you think that came about?
Well, Larry, somewhere along the line, the Democrat Party really they kind of created this barbell distribution, if you will, of voters, where the only people that they can attract to their crazy ideas are either folks with little or no income to whom they're just giving tons of handouts on the taxpayer dime, or very, very rich folks to whom they are giving special carve-outs in the tax code. In other words, we'll raise everyone's marginal tax rates, really soak the middle class, but for our wealthy donor class, for those folks, we're going to give special exemptions, carve-outs, deductions, etc., to ensure that they get to keep more of their money, again, at the taxpayer expense, a.k.a. the middle class.
Working folks, Trump's working folks change the Republican Party, especially Biden, with prices rising faster than wages. And Trump has continued that. He's messaging that the whole time. I think this is very profound. And I think elections are going to be different in the future, just as they were different on November 5th. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you. Steve Moore, stay away from Elon Musk, please. EJ Antoni, you're welcome anytime.